Farmer found eggs in field. When they hatched, he shut down his entire farm. A farmer found dozens of strange eggs under a tree stump. And when they hatched, he was forced to shut down his entire farm. Florida farmer Rick Harmon was clearing a section of his land near a large pond when he noticed something unusual beside an old rotting tree stump. As he approached, he discovered it was a cluster of strange leathery eggs nestled in a large mound of vegetation. Having never seen anything quite like them before, Rick assumed they were harmless snake eggs. But a few days later, when the eggs began to hatch, he leaned in closer to get a better look at the emerging creatures, only for his expression to shift instantly from fascination to pure ice-cold horror. He had just stumbled upon a nursery of apex predators, and their mothers were somewhere nearby watching. But before we start our story, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit that notifications bell so you won't miss any of our new incredible stories. To understand this story, you must first understand its setting, the unique and often perilous landscape of rural Florida. Beyond the theme parks and the sunny beaches lies a different world. A flat, humid, and semi-tropical expanse where the line between civilization and primeval wilderness is incredibly thin. It is a world of sprawling cattle ranches, dense cypress swamps, and slow-moving tannin-stained rivers. It is a place where modern agriculture exists side by side with an ancient untamed ecosystem. And this ecosystem is dominated by one undisputed alpha predator, the American alligator. This is not just a place where alligators live. This is and always has been alligator country. The American alligator is a true survivor, a living dinosaur. Their lineage stretches back over 200 million years, meaning their ancestors walked the earth alongside the great dinosaurs. They have survived mass extinction events, ice ages, and the dramatic reshaping of the continents. They are a masterpiece of evolutionary engineering, perfectly adapted to their wetland environment. As a keystone species, they are a critical part of the health of the Florida ecosystem. During periods of drought, they use their powerful snouts and claws to dig out deep holes, or gator holes, which retain water and become vital oases for fish, birds, turtles, and other wildlife, allowing the entire ecosystem to survive. But this vital ecological role is maintained by a creature that is also a ruthlessly efficient apex predator. The secret to the alligator's long success lies in its biology and its behavior, especially when it comes to reproduction. In the late spring and early summer, after mating, the female alligator begins one of nature's most remarkable architectural projects. She does not simply lay her eggs in a hole in the ground. She builds a massive nest, a carefully constructed mound of surrounding vegetation, mud, sticks, leaves, and grasses. This mound can be up to 3 feet high and 6 feet across. She then uses her powerful hind legs to create a conical chamber in the center where she deposits between 20 to 50 tough, leathery shelled eggs. She then covers the eggs with more vegetation. This is not just a pile of debris. It is a perfectly designed natural incubator as the vegetation in the mound begins to rot and decompose, which incubates the eggs for the next 65 days. The mother alligator does not simply leave her clutch to fate. She becomes a fierce, relentless guardian. For over 2 months, she will remain within a few feet of her nest, silently watching, guarding it against any potential predator, be it a raccoon, a bear, or an unsuspecting human. Our story's protagonist, Rick Harmon, was a man who knew the land. He was a third-generation Florida farmer who had grown up with alligators as a constant, if distant, part of his life. He respected them and he knew the basic rule: leave them alone and they will leave you alone. On that particular afternoon, he was clearing some overgrown brush on a section of his property that bordered a large natural pond. It was hard, hot work under the relentless Florida Sunday. As he worked his way around an old rotting tree stump, he noticed the mound. It was large, a heap of decaying leaves and mud that seemed out of place. He prodded it with the end of his shovel, and that's when he saw them. Nestled in the center of the mound was a clutch of about 30 large off-white leathery eggs. He had never seen eggs like this before. They were much larger than any bird egg he knew. His first thought was that they belonged to a snake, perhaps a large, invasive python, which had become a major problem in Florida. Pythons lay large clutches of leathery eggs and were known to be in the area. He knew the eggs needed to be left alone, but he also needed to continue working in the area with his heavy machinery. Being a responsible landowner who respected the local wildlife, he walked back to his barn, grabbed a few small, brightly colored survey flags, and placed them in a circle around the nest. This way, he and his workers would know to avoid the area. As he did so, he scanned the rest of the shoreline, and to his surprise, he found another similar-looking mound near another stump, and then a third a little further down. It was unusual, but he figured it must be a good year for the local snake population. He finished his work for the day and put the nests out of his mind. A few days later, Rick was working in the same area and decided to check on the nests he had marked. Some of the eggs had broken open. He moved in closer. His curiosity piqued. He wanted to see what kind of snakes were hatching. He knelt down, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. Those were not snakes. He was staring at a nest of dozens of baby American alligators. He instantly understood the full, horrifying reality of his situation. He had not found a snake nursery. He was standing in the middle of a nesting ground for multiple, massive, and fiercely protective mother alligators, and they were somewhere nearby, silently watching him. For a long moment, Rick Harmon was frozen in place. His first call was not to the police, but to the one agency in the state equipped to handle a situation like this: the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, or FWC. He explained the situation to the dispatcher, his voice tight with panic. He described the multiple nests, the hatching eggs, and his terrifying realization. The response was immediate and serious. An FWC wildlife officer was dispatched to his property right away. While he waited, Rick began to understand the true mortal danger he had just been in. What he didn't know at the time was that mother alligators are among the most aggressive and protective parents in the entire animal kingdom. Once she lays her eggs, a female alligator will establish a perimeter around her nest and will attack anything she perceives as a threat, whether it's a predator or a human. But the most dangerous moment of all is the hatching. As the baby alligators prepare to emerge from their eggs, they begin to make a high-pitched chirping or yelping sound. This sound is a distress call, a signal to their mother. It is a trigger that ignites her most aggressive protective instincts. She will rush to the nest, help excavate the eggs, and will violently attack anything in the immediate vicinity. When Rick Harmon had been leaning in, fascinated by the hatching creatures, he was in fact standing in the center of a biological tripwire. The sound of those hatching babies was a dinner bell for disaster, and it is a miracle that he was able to walk away unharmed. When the FWC officer arrived, he was calm and professional. He listened to Rick's story and then, from a safe distance, used a pair of powerful binoculars to survey the area around the pond. He quickly confirmed Rick's fears. He identified not 3, but 5 separate alligator nests, all strategically placed in the mounds of vegetation near the old tree stumps. The officer explained to Rick the reason why his quiet farm had suddenly become a prime alligator nesting ground: the secluded pond, the lack of boat traffic, and the abundance of soft, decaying vegetation around the stumps had created the perfect 5-star nursery for female alligators looking for a safe place to lay their eggs. The officer's assessment was grim and unequivocal. The entire area was now an extreme danger zone. With multiple highly aggressive mother alligators guarding their newly hatched young, the risk of a serious or even fatal attack was incredibly high. The farm's daily operations, the workers tending the fields, the cattle drinking at the edge of the pond, had to be suspended immediately. Rick Harmon was forced to make the call to shut down his entire farm. What followed was a complex and dangerous multi-day operation. A team of FWC alligator wranglers, experts in capturing and relocating these powerful reptiles, arrived at the farm. Their first task was to deal with the hatchlings carefully and with a constant, watchful eye on the surrounding water. The team moved in and began to collect the dozens of newly hatched baby alligators. Once all the young were safely contained, the most dangerous part of the operation began: capturing the mothers. The team set up a series of large baited traps along the edge of the pond. The massive female alligators would be even more agitated and actively searching the area. Over the next 2 days, the traps were successful. The team captured and relocated 3 large female alligators. After a final sweep of the area, the FWC declared the farm safe once again. Rick Harmon was finally able to resume his operations, but with a new and profound respect for the ancient, powerful creatures with whom he shared the land. His story quickly became a local legend, a powerful cautionary tale that spread through the rural Florida community. It was a stark reminder that in a place where the wild is never truly far away, a simple, everyday task can suddenly put you face to face with a danger that has been lurking silently just beneath the surface. A story about how a man who thought he knew his land discovered a hidden primordial world in his own backyard and learned that sometimes the most terrifying secrets are the ones that are about to hatch.